It's like that T, bitch. Like that T, bitch. Let's try and test and see. Music out. Get all out the music. Trying to do. Alright. Now it's not showing me my motherfucking card. Okay, good. Open that shit back in. Why not showing me on that? See, that's what I say. People talk shit on Streamlabs, but that shit, it's to me it would better than OBS on my computer personally. Run a little smoother. I don't know why. People always say maps run more. My computer personally. Okay, well, I can't see that. I was gonna like YouTube. I was gonna get to like YouTube. You can't. Bye. But definitely here and there. We're finna get right to the motherfucking stream. This is gonna be a good long stream. Good long stream. Oh, just pop my motherfucking damn. I don't know. Close all this because I don't need all this. Hey, I don't need all this. No. No. Shit, I got 12. I got them. Watch something on YouTube. I roll a wood. Look up Rob. I actually did watch that SJW video. Make sure I go check out some W and third name W's. Which I'm on because they not the biggest creators, but still some hard ass creators. Not just put y'all on, so I better get my profit put y'all on. Showing showdown, third impact. Show you this nigga. Rob. Nigga with curly hair. Fuck that nigga. I hate that nigga. Evenly. Hate him. This finds me to react to. It's like a roll of wood. Oh, chat. It's Christmas. Hold on, chat. Hold on, chat. Why the yeah, it's Christmas. Merry Christmas. Christmas season. December 3rd. Around Christmas time, you gotta get that, ignored. Fuck, see, I was like, got that good. Exercise, not alcoholic. I don't know what alcoholic put that shit be on. And oh god, put some of that eggnog. The reason I like Christmas. I drink a party. Yeah, I drink at the party. For sure, I don't really care for holidays. Holiday food, except for Halloween. I don't like real big pumpkin nigga. Candy food. That's a snack. Candy, not food. Consider food like motherfucking. Bro, this shit flipped. So okay, this shit. Get the fuck out of there. Gotta look at y'all though. Candy, y'all consider candy a food? I mean, so food is anything that's edible, right? When I think of food, I think of burgers, burritos. Candy is candy. I guess it's food. Junk food. Okay, it's junk food. W in the chat. W in the chat. Junk food. Junk food. Let's find something we can watch real quick. I hope you want to make a song. Want to make a song? W. WL. Chat. WL. Song. WL. Oh. No song. No song. No song. No song. No song. What's up? All right, but we back to this. That's it. No song. Wait. I gotta add up. Full screen shit. I gotta add the audio capture so I can have my mic right now. There you go. I have it ready when I need to have it ready. I have it ready when I need to have it ready. Red walked out. Thank you. Oh, I know this was just already before I sparked up the stream, bro. Don't spark up the stream. What do you got? Yeah. My desk. I've been sick. You know. Hear that shit. I'm phone them gray. That's yeah, beef with the weekend. I beef with the weekend. I don't think she folded because I was on his stream. Ain't really show too much, but he said if that was him, she would have folded. So I don't think she folded. I don't want to watch it if she did not fold. Oh God, I want to see a bitch fold. I want to see a nigga heart get broke. I don't give a fuck. I want to see hearts break. I want to see hearts break. And my heart broke. Oh, hell no. Look, was that? Big was that, dude? My homie sister. I don't want to watch that. I want to watch some criminal shit. Crime. I want to watch some crime shit because I like committing crimes. Alright. I just got it, so I gotta learn how to use it. Okay. Okay. Clapping. Okay. Wait. Okay. Damn it. Oh. He didn't say. Okay. What the fuck? Oh! Yeah. I'm getting good at it. Give me applause. I'm getting good at it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I'm getting good at the soundboard. Wait. Shit finna come off natural. You gotta edit this shit in. I'm really doing this shit live. I got a cheap ass soundboard. So I get that sound. I'm phoning. Why is my shit doing this? I ain't getting that compute. I ain't getting that compute. Hey, let me move this. I think I gotta take this stitch with them. Sick, nigga. I'm sick. You go see this clip. Yeah, he be beating his shit. I do. I don't leave the tissue out. But not everybody beat their shit down there. You say you don't. Everybody beat their shit. Okay, nobody. I'm too grown to beat my nigga. You mean I beat they? I'm too grown. I grew out of that. I get bitches. I get bitches too. But sometimes I just don't feel like getting interact with a bitch. Get my you feel me? I'm just gonna beat my shit. Oh, you feel me? My shit big. I look sexy. Fuck you. Fuck you. I was just getting bomb ass videos watching by myself. Now, that it's not good for a stream. I was getting bomb ass video. I really ain't want to watch this shit. Start spark up a stream. I'm not gonna watch later. What do I have in my watch later? My God, bitch. Judge might watch later, alright? Yeah, Nathaniel, the 11-year-old killer. See? That's what give me some TikTok views. But okay, so I'm gonna be extra as fuck this reaction for TikTok. Like I know I'm clip farming. Clip farming. Clip farming. Nathaniel. The 11-year-old killer. Was Nathaniel. Nathaniel. What is it?
Just 11 years old when he found himself in the middle of one of the most controversial murder cases in the history of the United States of America. The case scandalized the country and almost everyone responded with outrage. A murder case. But the folks on Nathaniel's block, his own neighbors, well, they weren't particularly shocked. He might have been little, measuring no more than 4 feet and weighing a little under 65 pounds, but he was also a thorn in the side of everyone in the neighborhood. A danger to the community.
I would have tossed that at no, I'm just saying.
He threw rocks at my mom's house. I mean, he was dangerous.
And she wasn't alone.
I was testing the sound. Make sure I get
okay. Shared a similar.
Go back.
Measuring no more than 4 feet and weighing a little under 65 pounds, but he was also a thorn in the side of everyone in the neighborhood. A danger.
So neighborhood minutes.
Threatened my grandsons all the time. He threw rocks at my mom's house. I mean, he was dangerous.
And she wasn't alone.
Another grandson's a bitch. Grandson versus one nigga.
A similar sentiment because, according to her, when they were both 9, Nate had threatened her with a gun. So as
what could I get a gun from at 9? No one started pipe at 9. At 9 piece. You was talking about fuck. That was a real young nigga, one original young nigga. This shit look old. The video footage is blurry as fuck. That was the OG young nigga. At 9, cuz told him to pipe. At 11, cuz got a body.
Murder case began to take its hold in the center of public consciousness. It became clear that his entire block had turned against him. As disturbing as these allegations sounded, it seemed like they were true. All of his neighbors wanted him locked up, except one. Only one neighbor on Nate's block came to his defense when the cameras started rolling. He didn't try to downplay or dismiss claims about the boy.
I think that's crazy for him to be charged as an adult. He was only 11 years old.
This neighbor was convinced that the little boy wasn't the devil. He was just a broken child who made terrible decisions. This man had also experienced a version of Nate that his neighbors hadn't got the chance to see. He wanted the government and the prosecutors to go easy on the young boy. Why? Because Nathaniel Abraham was an 11-year-old boy charged with the murder of an 18-year-old named Ronnie Green.
Shit. I'm not making a lot of this. Imagine you get smoked by an 11-year-old boy. I don't know how he died. You get killed. You get by an 11-year-old boy after 18. He not a grown man, but he's a grown man. He's Ronnie.
Because in the most controversial turn of events, the state of Michigan was willing and ready to try him as an adult due to the severity of his crime.
How he do it though?
They found him guilty. If the prosecutors were able to get what they wanted,
how he do it? I want to know how he did it.
Spend the rest of his life in prison for a crime he committed when he was just 11. Yeah. Some of you watching would say murder is murder regardless of the age. That's what makes the intricacies of this story all the more interesting. Let me set the record. The intricacies of this story all the more interesting.
Alexa, how many years ago was 1997?
1997 ended 26 years ago.
That means he's 37 now.
Let me set the record straight before we dive into this case. The true victim in this story was 18-year-old Ronnie Green. Nate was a preteen who killed a teenager, and now he had to face the consequences. So, what went wrong? We have to trace the thread back to the very beginning.
You ad blocker, hurry up. No ad blocker. British needs to get back fast and fast. I think they getting hit to that shit now.
1986. Months after he was born, his father left and never returned. This sudden change resulted in incredible hardship for the family because Nate wasn't the only child. There were 6 of them.
Man.
His mother, Gloria, was forced to take up 2 jobs to keep
Popping
their
out.
family afloat. She had to work day and night, so she was never around. And Nate's formative years were spent under the care of his older siblings. Gloria was caught between a rock and a hard place. Between spending time raising her children or working hard to ensure they didn't starve to death. It's no easy dilemma. However, this whole situation turned out to be the perfect storm for something dark within Nate. With no one to keep him in check, Nate became delinquent. From the moment he could walk, he began to exhibit extremely antisocial behavior.
I'm still okay. I'm sorry. I'm still on the fact he was told a pipe at 9. Studying the bitch with a gun at 9. It could have been a fake pipe. She was young. She probably didn't know it was. Oh, though. Your mom, but you got older. How old is he? Yeah, old. I don't know.
Many kids show these traits when they are young. Parents corrected and rooted out, but no one was around to do that for Nate. So it grew into something so ugly that by the time that he was 9, he had become a troublesome child with a rap sheet of a serious middle-aged criminal. From the age of 9 till 11, Nate had 22 police encounters, some for arson, a couple of others for assault, and several for breaking and entering.
More than me. I'm 20. I'll be 21. I was 11. He had more contact with the feds than me.
22. At least 5 involved the use of a weapon.
Yeah.
One involved a 14-year-old that he beat with a steel pipe, and the last involved a...
Lock him up. You don't need to be free. Doing this shit as a jet. Imagine where he go. He doing this shit as a jet. Lock him the fuck up. Throw him.
An adult, a bus driver. At some point, he became such a problem in the neighborhood that the prosecutors would later reveal in court that a neighbor moved out of the block because of him. That same neighbor would also...
You let an 11-year-old run you out your crib. A 11-year-old. You let a 11-year-old run you out your neighborhood. I don't care what he's doing. A 11-year-old, you let him run you out. You a bitch. You the... Oh, God, what the fuck? Like he said, he could have been more than 4 feet, 55 pounds soaking wet. Knife, anything, all you want. You let an 11-year-old... I would have got some little homies from the so fast. Hey, what? You let a 11-year-old...
also say, quite prophetically, that someday Nate was going to kill somebody. Now, you are probably wondering what Nate's mother did during this period. At some point, she began to feel helpless when almost every day there was someone knocking on their door reporting Nate's latest crime. One major reason why she felt helpless was because that she had actually gone to the police for help. She wanted them to intervene in her son's situation, but they referred her to the juvenile court. And when she got there, they sent her back to the police, telling her that her word wasn't enough. No one was prepared to help. Nobody was ready to intervene. Now, remember when I said Nate was born into a perfect storm? There was one more piece left for the chaotic future he was now destined to have. The 1980s was a very interesting decade in American history. Ronald Reagan became president. CNN became a thing. There were those interesting looking Macintosh computers, and then there was violence. Widespread violence in major cities like New York and Chicago. However, the most troubling part of the 1980s was the spike in the level of violent crimes committed by juveniles. Between 1980 and 1994, the number of juvenile homicides...
Our generation. I'll be talking about our generation.
Homicide offenders doubled. And according to FBI clearance statistics from that time frame, the juvenile responsibility for all homicides in the country grew from 5% to 10%. The quick answer to why this was happening was the crack epidemic of the mid-1980s. In the inner cities, it had become a plague, and it wasn't long before those drugs got paired with guns and juveniles. Now, the progression from drug trade to gun violence isn't surprising. In fact, many would agree it's natural and expected. But how did kids get into the mix? Well, drug traffickers at the time found that children and teenagers made excellent recruits. better than adults. Children worked as low-level sellers, carriers, and lookouts, while working for less, taking greater risks, and escaping detention. Because at the time, no one would have guessed that an 11-year-old standing on a street corner was a drug dealer. And even when these kids got caught,
now though, they got you to watch. It be little young niggas perks in their backpack at school in 5th grade, playing them bitches. I don't know, cause I synced it. I synced it. Perks, mollies, SD, pins, his backpack. I swear, I strike me right now. Right now.
their age implied innocence, and it meant that they escaped punishment. From the drug dealer's perspective, these juveniles were beyond perfect. So it wasn't long before these same juveniles came in contact with guns and began using them for their own protection, even if they didn't need to. They aspired to use them because guns had become a status symbol for the drug-dealing lifestyle that these kids now wanted to be a part of. And that's why just a decade earlier in 1976...
Right, even now, I still be itching to blow that motherfucker. I don't want to blow that motherfucker, but you give me a reason, I'm gonna blow that motherfucker. I don't want to blow that. Hey, the slightest reason. I feel like I can use this or get away with it. Self-defense, that bitch. Yeah, look at me wrong. Pull out your phone too fast while you argue. I'm blowing you. Pause. Pause. So, pull out your phone too fast and we arguing. I'm gunning you down. Probably you. Probably you. I thought he had a gun. I thought that should my turn to me. Get my actual license to carry? If I'm legally carrying? Well, I need to get that legal license.
Records showed that less than 2/3 of juvenile homicide offenders used a gun. And by 1994, 82% of juveniles used a gun in cases of homicide. This was the background of Nate's childhood. And while there is no record of drug dealing activity on his juvenile record, it wouldn't be wild to suggest that he found himself in that crowd. And that it was that crowd that enabled his truancy.
Was he black?
Where else do you think he got the gun he used? His mother didn't own a gun. Now,
that's what I was saying. I think it was his brother or
government's
something.
response to this spike of violent, gun-fueled juvenile delinquency was to turn to the law.
80s was a fucked up time. I talk about the 80s, 90s. I had to worry about crackheads and young niggas getting it.
A growing number of states passed laws stipulating that kids under 17 could be tried as adults for certain crimes. It was a weird way to
I said that like it changed. It's the same shit now. Now it's worse. It's crack. They got like everything, and they got switches, sprinkles, beans. Oh my god, they got worse. What else? Yeah.
Problem because they weren't seeking direct solutions. They were just adding to punishment. Supporters of this law who happened to be civilians like you and me took to the streets, waving banners and slogans that read, "Adult crime, adult time." And by 1992, more than 40 states had passed laws for trying children as adults. But no state's version of the juvenile justice law matched the severity of Michigan's. Michigan, the same state that Nathaniel Abraham was born in, raised in, and would commit his devastating crime in, set no limits on the age that a child could be tried as an adult. They called their law "Get Tough on Juvenile Offenders." In fact, when one of the state senators who pushed for this law was asked if a child as young as 4 could be tried as an adult, his answer was a resounding yes. The stage was now set for Nathaniel Abraham's crime. And 3 years after that law was passed in 1997, when 11-year-old Nathaniel Abraham...
4 is kind of crazy. That little motherfucker still kind of around, don't really know. Get his hand on his daddy gun laying around and shoot his dad in the head, that's the dad fault. Only this 4-year-old, where you go put him? You put him in juvie. Where should you put a 4? Daycare? I don't know.
Abraham shot 18-year-old Ronnie Green, he became the scapegoat of a law that set the scene for the country's most controversial juvenile murder trial to date. On the 31st of October 1997, there was a commotion in Lincoln Middle School. There were police officers in the 6th grade class, and they were reading their rights, not to the class teacher, but to 11-year-old Nathaniel Abraham, dressed up in a Halloween costume. A day before, on the 30th of October, 1997, an 18-year-old boy named Ronnie Green had passed away after fighting for his life for almost 24 hours. He had been shot in the head by a single bullet from a .22 caliber rifle. As investigators scrambled to find out who this killer was, they discovered that on the day before, 11-year-old Nathaniel Abraham had stolen a .22 caliber rifle and gone shooting outside. He shot at a neighbor's...
The fuck is still that big ass? Oh. Yeah. Where you get that big ass gun from? How you steal that? How you let an 11-year-old walk out with that gun? Is probably the same size as him.
house first, narrowly missing the house.
Hold on.
He shot at a neighbor's house first, narrowly missing the man who owned the house. And moments later, he stood in a cluster of trees about 200 feet away from a convenience store, took aim, and fired a bullet that would hit 18-year-old Ronnie Green in the head and kill him roughly a day later.
Okay,
While
hey.
Nate admitted that...
Oh no, look here. Okay, sharpshooter. Hold on. Bushes outside. What's it, across the street?
Own the house.
100 feet away. Hold on.
He stood in a cluster of trees about 200 feet away from a convenience store.
100 feet away. At 11, it hit his target. I don't know if that was his target or he was just shooting. He meant to hit, bro. If he meant to hit, bro. At 11, if he meant to hit him, I don't know if that was his target or he was just shooting just to shoot.
Took aim and fired a bullet that would hit 18-year-old Ronnie Green in the head and kill him roughly a day
I thought he
later.
walked down on
While
him.
Nate
That's what I was talking about the 18. That was unsuspected. He was minding his business. Sorry.
admitted that he was the one who shot Ronnie, he denied targeting him. Instead, he claimed that he was only aiming for light bulbs and trees.
I go to like a park or something.
The shot that killed Ronnie Green was, by his own admission, an unfortunate error. The prosecutors weren't buying it. Despite the fact that the 11-year-old boy had never met Ronnie Green before the shooting, they were convinced that he had deliberately set out to kill someone that day. If you're wondering what fueled the prosecutor's conviction, well, they had evidence that Nate had spoken to his girlfriend, saying that he was going to kill someone on the morning of Ronnie Green's tragic demise. And that, after the shooting, he had bragged about the kill he made to his friends. With the backing of Michigan...
The demon. Lock him up. Who's the target, bro? He's the one to kill somebody. He wants to kill somebody. See how I felt. Them the motherfuckers, if he did not get caught, he was gonna be a problem. He bombed. He did not get caught for this. He was gonna be a problem. I promise you, he was gonna be overly a problem.
Get tough on juvenile offenders law, the prosecutors received permission to try Nate as an adult, charging him with first-degree murder and several other felonies. Nate was arrested, placed in handcuffs, and he was sent to Oakland.
I ain't looking back like that though.
Nate was...
He looking back like this. He looking back like he ready for a spanking or something. Like, spank me, let's get this over, let me go home. That's what Cuz looking like was some real shit. No Diddy.
Was arrested, placed in handcuffs, and he was sent to Oakland County Children's Village, a juvenile detention center in Michigan, while he awaited trial. The arrest was deeply controversial. Controversial enough to deeply divide the country along several ethical lines. While there were many unwilling to contribute to the discussion, there were many more who thought that this was a fitting punishment for the 11-year-old.
Oh, God.
There was an overwhelming majority, especially in the black community, who were against the decision.
Okay. Okay, chat. For my brothers out there, let me know if y'all feel like he wrong. I hate when black people try to justify something, or try to justify something the police do off of color. Yeah, I get they fucked up a lot. Don't get me wrong. Fucked up a lot. But it comes in something like this. Something like this. He bragged about it. Planned it. Like, he ain't planning to kill that exact person. He planned to kill someone. He was going to kill someone that day. Did not get caught. To be a serial killer. It is what it is. Got the feel. The next day he bragged about it. He bragged about it. I mean, he felt good after doing it. Usually you see people, I watched one video, little boy, like he broke down crying. I don't know if he died because he went to jail, but this little nigga bragged about what he did. Not that he planned it. He told his girlfriend about it. Executed his plan. Then bragged about it. He deserved. What?
Amnesty International, Reverend Al Sharpton, and probably every major civil rights activist in the country protested against the whole affair, calling it a disgrace to the justice system that should protect children, delinquent or not. Like I noted earlier, they were trying to try him as an adult, and if he was found guilty, he would be sent to prison for the rest of his life. One lawyer was outraged enough by the case that he chose to take it on pro bono at no cost to Nate's family. This lawyer was named Jeffrey Feiger. He was a lawyer who, up to that point, had built a reputation for taking on most cases that lawyers wouldn't touch. His most infamous past client at that time was a man named Jack Kevorkian, also known as Dr. Death. Jack Kevorkian was an actual doctor with the rap sheet of a comic book villain. On his rap sheet, the man had advocated harvesting the organs from death row inmates. While he was a pathologist, he experimented with transfusing blood from the recently deceased into live patients.
All right. Be out. Yep. But will save a lot of lives. Imagine all the people that be needing transfusion here and there. We don't got that nigga type blood. A lot more dead. A lot more dead people.
He did a lot of bizarre, unethical things throughout his career as a doctor, but the most controversial one, the one that got Geoffrey Feiger representing him as his attorney in court, involved assisted suicide in Michigan. Kevorkian's story is worthy of its own video, so I won't go down that rabbit hole. Just know that while Nate's situation was controversial, it was not new to Jeffrey Feiger. And immediately he took on Nate's case. He began a series of motions and appeals that delayed the trial for at least 2 more years, enough time for him to prepare. On the 29th of October 1999, the murder trial began. Nate's first appearance in court looked like something from a really dark SNL sketch. He was dressed in oversized prison garb. There were cuffs on his wrists and chains on his feet. When he was asked to raise his right hand, he raised his left. Halfway through the hearings, he would start sobbing, and for most of the trial, he looked lost. But the prosecutors and the politicians who supported this law were hell-bent on seeing it through to the end. I'm gonna shoot somebody. In her opening statement, the prosecutor, Lisa Hallucci, dramatically wrote down those words for the jury to read. She claimed that these were the words that 11-year-old Nate told his girlfriend days before the killing. As the trial progressed, this prosecutor called witnesses who supported the idea that Nathaniel's act was, in fact, a premeditated murder. According to the witnesses, he had stolen the rusty rifle he used, then practiced target shooting at balloons and the houses of his neighbors before the fatal shooting of Ronnie Green. Later, the prosecutor would also note that Nate had told the police contradicting stories about the shooting, which, according to her, was proof that he knew what he had done and that it was wrong. When it was
killing somebody wrong.
He argued that the shooting was an unfortunate accident. He didn't dispute the fact that Nathaniel fired the gun, but He insisted that the boy was not trying to hit anyone. Feiga brought an expert marksman to stand as a witness who testified that it would have been almost impossible to deliberately hit a small target from more than 200 feet.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was called. If he hit that nigga on purpose, like he looked at him, I'm finna shoot you. Up that far, he cut our head, but he just shot. I'm gonna hit somebody.
Distance Nate was from the victim, and it was even more unlikely because the rifle he used was old and battered. Later, Feiga called on child psychologists to describe Nathaniel's mental state. According to these experts, Nate had an IQ of 70, and at the time of the murder, his thought process were like those of a 6-year-old. Feiga tried to prove that Nathaniel lacked impulse control and the mental capacity to form the intent to kill. However, the prosecution brought their own psychologist to the stand as a witness, and he rebutted the claim that Nate couldn't form an intent to kill. Nate's case was a delicate one. If you were in front of the family of the deceased, how could you say your son's killer was just a child? In a way, there was something odd about the entire premise of the case because
he couldn't form. He told his girlfriend, "I'm going to shoot somebody," the day after he shot somebody. I'm missing something. Said, "I'm going to shoot somebody," the day prior to his girlfriend over text or whatever, however they. Then next day, more whatever, shot somebody. That's intent. Intent.
Because if Nate had been a 30-year-old man who was examined by a court psychologist and determined to have the mental
they do look alike.
Capacity of a 6-year-old, would a 30-year-old Nate still be tried? But wait a minute, the plot thickens because the Constitution also stipulates that Nate be tried by a jury of his peers. And we both know that there is no way the court was going to do a preteen jury selection in an elementary school. So the jury that was hearing Nate's case were all adults. There were constitutional gaps that this murder trial allowed. When a journalist confronted the prosecution about it, they argued that the adult nature of Nate's crime and the severity of the consequences of his crime on the victim's family was what justified the jury of adults. At the end of the day, the truth was, even though 2 years had passed since he committed the crime and Nathaniel Abraham was now 13, he was still too young to drive a car, too young to drink, too young to vote. And as a direct consequence of this, people still argue that he should have been too young to be tried as an adult. In the final days of the trial, the prosecutors began seeking a compromise. No more first-degree murder charges. Now they were asking the presiding judge, on Nate's behalf, to allow the jury to consider a lesser offense. Whether this was out of goodwill or because there was no victory in sending an 11-year-old to life behind bars, no one knows. What we do
I don't think kill my son. Death penalty. Okay, how old you kill?
know is that it worked, and on the 16th of November 1999, Nate was found guilty of second-degree murder, which still made him the youngest American to be ever convicted of murder as an adult. And there were 3 options on the table for the judge. The first was the harshest, a prison term of 8 to 25 years. The second option was more moderate, blended sentence, and it would see Nate go to a juvenile detention center. By the time he turned 18, if he was properly rehabilitated, he would be released. If not, he would be transferred to an adult prison after turning 21 to serve the rest of his 25-year sentence. This was what the prosecutors wanted. This is what they pushed for.
He'll be out by now.
It wasn't what the judge eventually chose. To their surprise, the judge went for the third option, which was the most lenient. Nate would be sent to a juvenile detention center and he would stay there till he was 21, after which he would become a free man. And at the age of 13, Nathaniel Abraham began what was supposedly a long road of rehabilitation. The state had less than 8 years to rehabilitate Nate. Would they succeed? On the 13th of January 2000, Nate was placed in the care of the Michigan Department of Human Services for treatment and rehabilitation. Then he was moved to Maxie Boys Training School. And to everyone's surprise, by August of that very year, he began to show signs of responsibility. Throughout 2001, he passed all of his classes, and he was praised for his academic performance in math, reading, and note-keeping. By 2003, Nate was described as a leader within his group. He displayed a positive attitude, took on additional work, and followed directions. At this point, his supervisors decided it was time to get him to work in the real world. So at the age of 17, Nate began working in a Goodwill store. And before long, his employers at the store indicated that he displayed good communication skills and that he was courteous with the customers. Eventually, on the 18th of December and at the age of 18, Nathaniel earned his GED. The following year, he would earn his high school diploma, and eventually, he was just 1 year away from his release. So, was Nate rehabilitated? Had the juvenile system succeeded in transforming the 11-year-old killer into a functioning member of society? He had shown constant progress through the years, and the world was about to find out if they had succeeded.
Let's see.
If you noticed, the reports I relayed to you felt a little bit too clean, too sugary. Something was off. Well, you can blame me for that because I deliberately omitted some details. Nate had an anger issue. To be quite frank, he had a lot of issues. Enough of them to require several disciplinary actions taken against him. Nate had an affinity for getting into fights, even though he never really started them. He had a pattern of yelling at prison staff. During basketball games or any competitive sports, Nate had the tendency to get heated. He also had sticky fingers and had been caught more than once stealing cleaning supplies to give to his girlfriend. Again, most of these missteps were seen as just that, missteps. Normal for any youth. What mattered was that he no longer participated in the crimes he had committed when he was 9.
Ew.
Remember? Larceny, malicious destruction of property,
Ew.
assault and illegal entry, murder.
Ew.
Nathaniel Abraham hadn't killed anyone in the 8 years since the trial.
Ew.
So on the 18th of January 2007, after spending nearly a decade in juvenile detention, Nate was free, released into society. He was a free man. I wish this was the end of the story, and I wish I could wrap it up here with some Disney-esque happily ever after.
Oh my God, this nigga dumb. Got all that. After all, I could tell by how Cud dressed. He come out doing all that dressed like this. He's up to no.
After. But unfortunately, there were more issues ahead for Nate.
Oh my God.
For the first 18 months of his newfound freedom, nothing remotely criminal or remarkable happened to Nate. Unfortunately, in May of 2008, Nate was arrested again in Pontiac with 254 ecstasy pills in a liquor bottle bag. He was sentenced to 4 to 20 years in prison, but eventually got paroled in June 2017. Did the rehabilitation fail, or was this just another misstep that Nate would learn from?
He kept that nigga.
Consider this. After he was discharged from parole in July of 2018, on the 6th of August of that same year, Nate got into more trouble with the police after he exposed himself in front of a 46-year-old neighbor who had declined his offer to cut her lawn. 2 days after that incident, he struck deputies who tried to take him into custody for skipping a court appearance. He was charged with resisting and obstructing police, a felony punishable by up to 4 years in prison. Had the system failed,
what the fuck? He don't
learn. In 2019, Nate, who is now 33, was handed a 6 to 40 year prison sentence for selling drugs to an undercover police officer in Farmington Hills.
How would his dumbass get?
He had pleaded guilty and shown remorse for his actions.
Fuck that.
Was probably the reason why the judge had been extremely lenient when sentencing him. Because under normal circumstances, he would have had to face another life sentence because of his frequent problems with the law. Nate wasn't alone in court on the day of his sentencing. His mother, siblings, and every relative that had been by his side.
Look at that nigga. He needs. Oh my God.
With the law almost 20 years before was present. And when the cameras turned to his mother, when the questions about the support she had for her son came up, Gloria Abraham was unwavering. Nothing had changed on her end. I believe in my son, she said. And of course, society doesn't know his life. He will do okay. He's a strong young man.
Of course she gonna be on his side.
Thanks for tuning in to Twisted Minds. That was the case of Nathaniel Abraham. And why don't you go ahead and click on one of the 2 videos on your screen for another one of our videos.
Dumbass, dumbass, dumbass. I'm gonna watch this. Go play the game or make some music. I'm low-key tired. I don't want to listen.
Step out of the car. Man, move over here. Hands up, please.
Why are you doing this?
Let me ask you this. What did you do to that girl?
What did you do to that girl? What did you do to that girl? Hackers to this Ohio.
I think there's blood on this wall.
Trap house.
This looks like dried blood.
These cops just found the bloodstains of a missing girl. Samantha Guthrie left her mother's house the previous day, never to be seen again, and her blood was just...
I was alright. Her eyes is mad blue. Bitch with blue eyes like this, it's probably edited context, but if a bitch got natural blue eyes, that scares me. I don't trust blue eye mother. I don't.
House the previous day,
got
never
blue eyes
to be seen again, and her blood was
Not
just
human.
discovered on the walls of this abandoned house. But the police are about to realize that this is a couple's murder house, and the killers have already fled across town, hunting for their next victim.
Ooh.
Why don't you explain what's going on?
With no idea who the next victim of the killer couple could be, and with time running out, detectives find themselves entangled in a web of multiple suspects, all tied to the abandoned murder house.
Yeah.
You're looking at some serious problems.
I got nothing to say to y'all. Got my attorney present. Nobody else sitting here. I got nothing to say.
Help us. This is serious. She deserves to get killed like this.
There that is. What? Oh, there's some dick.
Everything started in November 2018,
Oh, did he?
when a mother called police worried that her daughter had vanished without a trace. It had already been more than a day since anyone had seen 18-year-old Samantha Guthrie, and the cops arrived quickly to take her mother, Joni's, statement.
Hello. What's going on?
I need to file a missing person.
Okay, for?
My daughter.
Okay. How old's your daughter?
She's 18.
Okay. So, what makes her missing?
We can't find her. We got a call yesterday saying she was shot in the head, thrown in the trunk of a car, and they took off. The police were called yesterday. They went over to the house that it supposedly happened at. They checked. They said they didn't see anything.
Oh, damn.
Okay.
What?
And where was this supposed to be at?
On Lillian.
Lillian. Where's Lillian at? I've never heard of it.
Little did this cop know, he'd become extremely familiar with Lillian Street, as it would become the site of hours and hours of investigation, and one of the most disturbing crimes to come out of the city in
Fucking
years.
rat.
But for now, it sounds as though Samantha was murdered, or at the very least kidnapped. But nobody
Yeah.
can be sure. All of this information
Imagine getting a call. That her mom's. Imagine getting a call your daughter. I'm by the police. Somebody. Your daughter was shot in the head, put in the trunk of the car, and they sped off. What the fuck? You just. That's up.
came over a mysterious phone call from someone they didn't even know.
What's the
Yeah.
address again?
375 Lillian.
Damn.
Why would she be over there?
Because she's started getting into bad stuff.
Okay.
She turned 18. She left.
When was that?
May.
So that's the house right there?
I don't know what the house looks like.
Okay.
I didn't go there.
Fucked
It
up.
turns out the house that Joni is talking about was due to be boarded up in just a few days. It's in a rough area of town and has been abandoned for months. And as Joni said, Samantha had been struggling heavily. She left home as soon as she turned 18 and instantly fell in with a bad crowd. She was often seen frequenting abandoned houses known to be used by drug abusers and criminals, and she was slowly getting more distant from her family.
Yeah, the Lillian address is vacant.
I know.
And the officers had it boarded up. So, we didn't see any, there's no blood, no nothing. And to be honest with you, I think somebody's playing a prank on you.
After this, Joni would give over a description of Samantha, including a distinctive butterfly tattoo on her right arm, before
a comment. That would make me kind of like, oh, I don't think that was the right choice of words.
We're telling the cop one more crucial piece of information.
The name of the person she was last with, the supposed person that shot her.
Okay, sure.
Danny Hamby.
Who? Danny Hamby?
This wasn't a familiar name to police, and the officer still wouldn't seem to be too worried by the situation, but that would soon come to change. Because the very same evening, after publishing a missing persons report of Samantha, a lone man would come to police claiming he knew exactly what happened to her, and would lead police to launch a months-long investigation into multiple people, all connected to the abandoned murder house. But before we get to that, I want to tell you, and the best Extra Month just published a detailed description of Samantha, and the morning after
Snipe. Asian. I'm snipe better than you. I snipe better. Used to have them W snipes. Out that shit. What?
A very worried man would contact and claim to have details that could either save her life or lead them to her body.
All right, today is Tuesday, and we're here with, what's your first name?
John Marshall.
All right, so we're here to talk about something that happened over on Lillian Street back in November 4th. All right, why don't you tell me about what happened that night?
John Marshall was the first of many witnesses in this case, and he got in contact with the cops after hearing that they were looking for some.
Oh, is that a tattoo or is his neck just black? I can't tell. Shit, Matt. This tattoo, they probably did that so they can't.
Samantha. Apparently, he was actually at the house on.
John Marshall. Why hide your face? Know your name, John Marshall. They know. Why hide your face? Name John. Why hide the face? We'll put the government right there. What the fuck?
On the night everything happened, and saw it all with his own two eyes. The problem is, it almost sounds too good to be true. The cops don't know Marshall and can't necessarily trust him to give a truthful statement, meaning they'll have to verify all evidence he gives over. So as Marshall talks to the cops, we'll be keeping track of each piece of information and then following how the cops investigate and verify it all in order to hopefully solve the case and find Samantha.
Sam had been
Meant to be catfish. They're meant to be catfish. Hold up. Oh my.
Solve the case.
Meant to be catfish. Yeah, I know what big bitches show they. Meant to be catfishing y'all niggas. Y'all, oh, she one of them bitches. The bitches that only show her up hers. Oh my god. Look at that. Meant to be catfish.
Include information.
Show us, bitch.
But that would soon to be used instantly. Drug.
Y'all see what I'm talking about.
Abandoned houses known to be used by drug abusers.
Y'all see what I'm talking about. Shit. Y'all see us. Catfish.
All right.
Many witnesses. We'll be keeping track of.
Where to go pick her up, so I didn't pick her up that night, and a few hours later she showed up from an Uber, I'm guessing, that her dad had.
All right, now when you say the house, what's the address?
75 Lillian.
Okay.
I'm guessing, from what I've been told, her dad paid for an Uber for her to get over there.
Okay.
This is already an easy piece of information to verify. If Samantha's dad did pay for the Uber, then he'd certainly remember that and be able to confirm it. And conveniently, the cops had interviewed her dad a few hours later, and he did indeed tell him that he'd bought her an Uber that night. On top of that, the address Marshall gave was also correct, so it seems that he's turning out to be trustworthy so far.
But I was walking to the Circle K on Copley and Rhodes to get cigarettes and a soda when I seen her and Yoshi walking to the house on Lillian. And about half hour after I got back to the house, and half hour, 45 minutes or so, Danny showed up and knocked on the back door. I answered the door.
Now, how do you know Danny?
Just in passing.
Do you know him from the house?
Yeah.
And you know what his last name is?
Amby.
Now, things are starting to get weird. That's the name that Joni said could be the killer, and Marshall seems to know him and the people he's friends with.
Okay, was he by himself?
Marshall finna get his ass knocked. That is chirping like a motherfucker. Dead obvious.
No,
I'm here.
with,
I'm not here for it, but I'm here for the video.
Okay.
Is what I was told her name was. And that one black guy that I've never seen before.
Okay.
Do you know what he looks like?
Yeah. I think, what's his name? Marcus? Something with an M, I want to say. Or,
what's he look like?
William.
Okay.
So the black guy, his name gotta be Marcus. That name William. Where the fuck he get Marcus from William? He was thinking a random black nigga's name. Marcus. Oh my god. Is he
William. Alright, what's he look like?
Okay.
Tall, about 6'2", 6'3", 225. Medium build.
Okay.
Dark skin.
So they came up to the back door?
Yeah.
Alright, and they knocked on the door?
Yeah.
And who let him in?
I did.
Okay, so you let him in, and then what happens?
They went upstairs and talked to Jody. Upstairs in Jody's room was Jody.
I can't go in no trap house. That shit look nasty. Can't do that. Like they was chilling.
Kim, Kate, Sam, then Danny,
I ain't gonna trap out,
Tony,
man. Trap house like
and
that.
William stayed downstairs.
This is incredibly useful information that Marshall is passing over. He's just given the names of 6 potential witnesses and suspects, and he seems to know them all personally. If this is all true, then Marshall could have just taken this case from no leads at all to almost too much to handle. The only thing the cops need now is verifiable information about exactly what happened to Samantha. That's when the detective asks this question, and gets much more than he bargained for.
Alright, so Sam and all of them were upstairs.
Yes.
So what happens next?
I didn't hear any yelling or anything, but music was playing. And Sam came downstairs looking kind of distraught, and she looked at me. I'm like, then go out the back door. Go out the back door. If you know, she kind of looked like she was panicking, so I'm like, leave.
Right.
She went to the basement, and 2 or 3 minutes later, I heard a little bit of a commotion, and then Sam came upstairs first, and she had like a little bit of a bloody nose.
Okay.
Or a busted lip, I couldn't tell. And she went back upstairs to Jody's room. Danny and Tony followed.
Followed her or chased her?
No, followed. They just kind of, followed. And 5, maybe 10 minutes later, Sam came running down the stairs. Danny was right behind her, and by the time she got to the 4th or 5th stair down from the living room floor, he shot her in the back of the head.
Yeah.
It doesn't get much clearer than that.
Damn.
Apparently Samantha then fell to the ground, and the house fell into disarray.
I might be going to jail.
Named Yoshi and William then
Why he
started
just
to
not
order
saying
Marshall
something?
and his friends around before.
Why he just
helping
not
to carry
saying something? He might be
Samantha's
going to
body
jail,
a
bro.
vehicle outside. The detective was starting to get a perfect picture of what this case really was, but there was still one burning question.
Okay, is Sam alive?
It sounded she was making noises, but in my past experiences, it sounded more like
past experiences. You seen niggas die before?
So she's still kind of breathing at this point.
Yeah, but she got shot in the back of the head by 8 to 10 inches away with a Smith & Wesson MP40.
Okay.
I know the outcome know the exact model of that bitch. Cut the exact model. He go to jail with them. His ass beat. Telling it everything. This person, that person, he did this to the exact model. Oh my god.
From the sounds of it, Samantha technically survived the shot, but it
The
wasn't
exact
looking
model.
good. If she wasn't taken to a hospital quickly, she
The
likely
exact
wouldn't have
model.
made it. But it
All
doesn't
right.
seem like the killers were expecting her to live. At least the cops now have a possible murder weapon, a Smith & Wesson MP40. Remember though, the cops have already searched the house and didn't find any evidence of a murder. But given the importance of this information, they decide to go back and see if they missed anything. At this point, Samantha's life hangs in the balance. If they find a single bullet casing or blood splatter, it likely means that Marshall was telling the truth and Samantha is long dead.
So I'll just pull up.
After police, anyone here? Make yourself known.
That's nice.
These are the steps that Samantha
Or a
was
trap
allegedly
house.
shot on. But the cops can't stop to investigate yet. Knowing how hot this house is and how many places there are for people to hide, they have to be on high alert and clear the entire place out before they can even think about letting their guard down. All three officers have their guns drawn and are doing their best to stick together should anybody be inside.
I'm going left. I can't get it.
That's a hot spot. Yeah, holy.
Clear.
Hey man, that shit got. That was a spot. All types of. All types of shit. Oh. It's Teddy.
Black Camaro leaving the parking lot. And the looks of it, Dad came here.
It seems like the house is empty, but it's a complete mess. There's no obvious evidence of a murder anywhere, so it's now clear why the cops didn't find anything their first time here. However, Marshall had told them two very important things: exactly where the shot was allegedly taken, and more importantly, that William and Yoshi had actually come back to clean up the scene. That means that any signs of the murder could be extremely difficult to find, but not impossible. In fact, you've actually already seen some evidence that proves Marshall's story to be 100% true. Take another look at the marking on this wall, right below the crack. It's a little difficult to see,
Look
but
at that.
that isn't graffiti. That's Samantha Guthrie's blood. Once the cops spotted this, it all fell into place. Multiple blood spatters that hadn't been cleaned up were found on the walls, as well as the bullet casings that looked similar to the bullets that the Smith & Wesson MP40 uses. Marshall was telling the truth. Danny and Tony were now wanted for murder, and they had 4 other witnesses they could use to track them down and convict them. And in fact, they wouldn't have to wait long, as police were soon called.
Oh shit. The trap house. Burnt that bitch down. Not like that. I would have burnt it down. It's hard. They didn't want to. Ability to pray for the best. Try to brown with the set. Clean up good. Sorry.
Called to a house where a girl claimed a couple had chased her with a gun.
Ooh. Hey, that's a big door. There's two. Which one is that? Which one is that? Which one is that? Dino. Dino. Dino Thunder. Can't help me. Don't believe me? Don't believe me? Don't believe me? Don't believe me? Don't believe me, chat? It said cat. 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 What images? Say cat. Say cat. Okay. Is that not? Is that not?
This wasn't a familiar name to police.
Okay. Try to get the exact one because they got multiple variations of it. But y'all can see that's Dino Thunder Mega. Could be other variations, but that's one of them. Okay. Look, did it rewind?
And Samantha is long dead.
Like I said, I don't know. Take my day. Don't ever have.
This young lady in my back door, and what's going on?
You don't know her? W black people. She ran to the outside letter in W.
You want to step outside and talk? Who's they? Huh? Do you need EMS for anything?
On Lillian Street, and she doesn't know anyone else from around here. That's when the cops come. They think Kim was just attacked because she was a witness to Samantha's supposed murder, and now they have a terrifying.
That's why. That's the fuck. They gonna hunt all of them down.
Situation on their hands. If they don't track down the killers and all their
Yeah.
accomplices,
They want 300. That's crazy. The fucking name is Witness. That's the name of the shoe. 12 Witness. Oh god. Let's see what. Damn. It's
Okay.
I do this.
All right. I don't know what to do about your.
911 numbers. Give me my attorney.
All right. Man, I don't know what we can do about your freezing, but maybe get you out of here as soon as we can. How's that? While you're here, can we cover at least cover something?
You can talk. I ain't gonna say nothing.
I say that.
You mind if we get some swabs from you?
Like I said, you can talk. I ain't gonna say nothing.
All right.
I'm gonna tell you like this, man. I got 11 numbers, 23 years in the system. I got nothing to say to y'all.
Nothing to say to y'all.
Attorney present. Nobody else sitting here. I got nothing to say.
Danny's been
Oh
in this
god.
situation before, and he knows exactly what
Tag.
to do.
Yeah, me
At the
too.
very
Tag.
least, stall the detective's process for as long as possible.
Yeah, too
He's
tag.
staying quiet and refusing to speak without an attorney present, as
Watch
is
his
his
bitch be
right.
singing.
So the detectives have no other choice but to switch over to Tony and see if she will budge
Oh,
instead.
I she start singing, bro. I'm making 10 toes. Then I said a word.
But I didn't know anything about CJ2X. I never had a weapon before in my life. My mom gave it to me because I started working here at Lake. So.
We're gonna read your Miranda rights, okay?
They already did that.
Okay. Good. Okay, you understand them and everything? Okay. There's a girl that's missing, and we have strong reason to believe he's.
You killed that bitch.
Disappearance.
He couldn't do that.
So.
He couldn't do that.
Why couldn't he do it?
Because he's not that type of person.
Okay, but like I said, we have a lot of information pointing to his involvement in this girl's disappearance. So what I want from you to know if you've ever seen this girl before, and think hard before you answer, because we want to know if you've seen her. Okay, and you've never seen her before. That's true.
They're deciding to be a lot more upfront with Tony and treat her not as a suspect, but more of a witness. It's likely she wouldn't confess to being involved in the murder, but they think there could be a chance that she'd turn Danny in if she thought it meant she'd get away. Unfortunately,
That's right
though,
there.
having
That's
been
all.
on the wrong side of the
That's
law in
little
the past herself, she's not about to help the cops out so easily.
I'm gonna be straight with you. He's looking at some serious problems. And from what you're telling me, if you were with him that whole time the past 3 days, which she went disappeared in the last 3 days. So if you were with him the whole time, you know what my next leap is.
Well, that's ridiculous because he was with me. We were in Warren.
Think real hard, because this is very important to what happens with you in the future. Okay?
No, I get that. I'm not that stupid.
Okay,
I catch
hang on.
on.
Hear me out. So this is not a misdemeanor crime we're investigating. We don't do that, okay? When we get involved, something bad has happened. We know some other stuff went on this weekend, specifically yesterday, Saturday night, at a house in Akron. So I don't want you to get in any trouble with something that you were just along for the ride. But if you're going to sit here and tell us with you the whole time, you think you're helping him, but you're not.
You're hurting yourself.
Let me tell you.
At a point, I said, to shut the fuck up. I don't know. Attorney. 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 Yeah. Attorney.
About the house where it happened at. We've talked to people that's been at the house. They were all at this house where this girl disappeared from. In fact, something bad happened to her at the house. You know why we know that? Because the guys, we've already talked to him all day. We spent all day talking to him. And he gave us detailed accounts of what happened at that house. You have to think hard about how you want to handle this, because if you're going to sit here and vouch for him, that can get you caught. That can get you in trouble. You have kids?
Yes,
you
I have
mentioned
2 kids.
2 boys?
Yes.
Okay. What would you do if one of those boys went missing?
Everything I could to find them.
Okay, would you expect people to help us to find him, to locate him?
Yeah.
The route the detective is taking is obvious and would work on the majority of people.
I'm
He's
around.
trying to scare Tony into giving up what she knows so they can get to the bottom of things faster. If she gives Danny up, she might get a good deal with them, but if not, things could end up real badly for her. The most interesting dynamic here, though, is how the detective is trying to use Marshall's earlier statement against her. This happens all the time, but usually they're exaggerating the strength of the evidence or making it up completely.
Yeah.
This time, though, they actually have an airtight statement, but Tony simply doesn't believe them. That means she thinks she can just continue to deny everything.
Yeah, usually
and
they
instead
really
of
don't,
taking
but
a
now they
deal for
really
less
do.
jail time,
Yeah.
she can just get away with no charges. So with this in mind, watch how confidently she denies everything, unaware that the detectives know every word she speaks is a lie.
So, this girl's family has been out looking for her all day. Okay, but unfortunately, we already know what happened to her. So from here on out, anything that based on what you're telling us, I mean, we're giving you this chance to talk to us now. Anything that in relation to her, what happened to this girl, well, that's not important. You don't know him, so what difference does it make?
In reality, Tony is extremely familiar with the man in the photo, as he's the man that helped load Samantha into her car. That man is Yoshi. Conveniently, Yoshi, whose real name is Dylan, had just been brought in on unrelated warrants, and detectives couldn't believe their luck. One of the main witnesses, possibly even an accomplice, had been brought right to them without any effort whatsoever.
About to start singing. You talk about his posture. He about to start
However,
singing. He
the
turning
best part,
everything.
Dylan wasn't the hardened criminal they expected.
He
In
about to
fact,
start
his interrogation
singing.
was unlike anything you've ever
Look
seen.
at him. He about
Not
to-
only is it truly heartbreaking,